Four of the 13 schools are in this neighborhood, in this district surrounding Chinatown, but really 5 schools because the San Francisco Unified School District already closed down the Edwin and Anita Lee Newcomer School last year. We are gathered here at Spring Valley Elementary School, and I'm honored to be standing with the former principal, Lonnie Chin, who was the principal of this school for 30 years. And that is a little bit of history, but it pales in comparison to the history of Spring Valley Elementary School, which is the oldest elementary school in the state of California, founded in this city in 1852, 172 years ago, and now slated for closure. In addition to the communities that parents and educators help build, and that the SFUSD is now insisting on disrupting, each of the impacted schools are important placemaking, not just for the students and their families, but for the entire community that has stewarded them and fought for them for decades. Spring Valley, with both Chinese and Spanish immersion programs, Yikwoo, which is named after the landmark Supreme Court case where it set a precedent for members of minority communities to receive equal treatment under the law and equal protection under the law. Gene Parker Elementary School was also an educator at what was then Broadway School, and was one of the first principals to embrace the diversity of families in this neighborhood, who has been a central hub for immigrants since its establishment in San Francisco, and of course Edwin and Anita Lee, named after our late mayor. Before I hand the mic over, and we also are joined by Dennis Chu, who was the principal of Gordon J. Lau for 7 years, and a principal in the San Francisco Unified School District for 17 years, and served in the San Francisco Unified School District for a third of a century. So thank you, Dennis, for being here. I also want to thank Christy Sampson from the Yikwoo PTO, as well as others who you are going to hear from. But let me start with this, which is, I think we all understand that the San Francisco Unified School District is going through a tough time. I think we all know that we live in one of the best resourced cities in the United States of America. I, like Connie Chan, am the product of a K through 12 public education. And fundamentally, this city, the city and county of San Francisco, the San Francisco Unified School District, have got to turn things around. And the way we are going about, or the way the Unified School District is going about this, is the wrong way. This has not been done in conjunction with parents. It has not been done in conjunction with the United Educators of San Francisco. Thank you, Cassandra Curiel, president of the UESF, for standing up for your teachers and being with us here today. It has not been done in connection with the elected school board. And I want to express my deep concerns that this has been done really in secret, really in a black box, and needs to be put on hold until that level of community discussion has happened. So with that, let me turn it over to my friend and colleague who was raised in this neighborhood, who can speak from her own experience as a product of the San Francisco Unified School District, Supervisor Connie Chan.
Thank you, President Peskin. Last week, we unanimously at the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution urging Superintendent Matt Wing that reconsider school closure plan. We know that they've got to fix the payroll system. They've got to pass the $790 million bond to improve our school sites. They've got to work with the state to balance the budget. They don't have to close any schools right now. We know that to be true, and we want them to reconsider. And yet here we are. I got the call from Superintendent Matt Wing. Actually, we met, and that's when he informed me on Tuesday that Sutro Elementary in the Richmond will be on the list or is on the list for school closure. It's a great disappointment to our community. I went to and joined the Parent Teacher Association meeting last night. There's a lot of anger, anxiety, and fear, but most importantly, just great disappointment about where we're at. We don't deserve this, and we deserve better from our school district. We all do, our kids do, our families do. And let me also want to give a quick shout out to, to Mr. Chu, who is actually also my vice principal at Galileo High School. That's how far back we go back. And I want to give an example why that these schools cannot be closed and what it actually means for immigrant communities like mine. Thanks to people like Mr. Chu, and when I went to Galileo High School as a first-generation immigrant, came to San Francisco's Chinatown with a single mom and younger brother. Immigrant family like ours, when we get to school where there is actually teachers and members who actually can speak the language and help us, and not just me as a student, but my family, and help us build a bond, not just with the school on site, but with the community around it. Parents actually come together because you know that you need to schedule your kids for doctor's appointments so that we have the medical records. But you tell each other what to do with free lunches and many other things that you actually need to get your kids to school, the bus routes, which bus to take, and all that is not that easy to just say, let's close the school because it will save us a dime. But when in fact we know it does not save us any money. And this is the reason why today we're here to tell the school district, stop and halt this school closure plan. Make sure you get your budget right, but not on the backs of our students and their families. This is not right. And we say, and I will say this because poor President Peskin has really also been mentoring me well on the really budget, and he taught me and say, hey, let's think about how to do this budget, because let me also be clear, San Francisco itself is facing a budget crisis and budget deficit. We've been through the last fiscal years for sure, and yet we make sure that every fiscal year we restore critical services for our families, and we are now saying to the school district, that's what they must do. Let's make sure you balance your budget and balance it right and provide students and their families the education that they deserve, but most importantly, a safe school community that we all deserve. And Spring Valley School is one of them. Sutro Elementary is one of them. Even the schools that we know that are not just... There are too many to name. My apologies. Yegwa is one of them. And in fact, besides the 13, there's actually also high schools on them. And we know that there are actually many more schools on that list that have not been announced, and we need transparency from the school district. Thank you.
Yeah, and before I bring up Principals Lonnie Chin and Dennis Chu, let me just say, as somebody who's been involved in this corner of the city's community life, I go to Read Aloud Day every year at Gene Parker. I've been auctioned off repeatedly year after year for a swim in the bay to raise money for Yikwu. This is more than just a school site. This is an intimate part of the fabric of this community. This is the densest part of San Francisco, and that's why we have this many school sites in San Francisco. It is also the heartland of the Chinese American community, and I don't think any of that has been taken into account by the San Francisco Unified School District. With that, it is my honor to introduce Lonnie Chin, the former principal of this 172-year-old institution who served as its principal for 30 years.
And I taught in the school district for 50 years.
Wow.
All told. Anyway, I went to Gene Parker. I taught at Sarah B. Cooper, which became Yigwa, so I know the campus and the neighborhood. Now, I also worked at Gordon J. Lau when it was Commodore Stockton. So I know this community inside and out. I grew up in North Beach, Chinatown, and have been serving on different boards around the community. My 30 years at Spring Valley involved changing the school culture into a school where children learn to get along with each other and learn to help run the school because they have to be responsible. Not only that, we instituted a nationwide thinking skills consortium where students learn to improve their intelligence. Not only that, we worked with the Academy of Sciences and the president of the board of Academy of Sciences, Bruce Alberts, to become a science-focused school. So you see where we are. However, because of the history, since 1852, the name of Spring Valley must never be eliminated. That was done by school board proclamation. Look it up. They wanted to change the name to Lonnie Chin School. No way. I'm going to be gone in a flash. But the name of Spring Valley needs to remain forever. Also, since 1884, Spring Valley did not allow Chinese students to go to the public schools. Isn't that a horrible, horrible thing? Spring Valley at that time was located at Green and Franklin Street. You know where that is? That's where Sherman is right now. The original home of Spring Valley is at Green and Franklin. And so my suggestion is that the name of Spring Valley never be eliminated by combining with Sherman. Okay, that is so it can go home. I'm a trained superintendent at Harvard. I will tell you that it's very, very difficult when schools have to close. So the thing the district needs to do is to try to improve and increase enrollment. And how do we do that? By making sure that we have good programs for kids all around. Special ed, average kids, but you know what? Schools around the country have not done enough to improve education for gifted kids. There are gifted people around the world. We need to also provide education for them, and children from the private schools will be coming back to the public schools because we will be competitive. Okay, don't forget Spring Valley and Mamie Tate. Mamie Tate was that little girl who was not allowed to go to Spring Valley. And so there's a Supreme Court decision that is civil rights history that lawyers study every year. So we want that to happen, okay? Thank you.
And next, another lifelong educator, former principal of Gordon J. Lau Elementary, Dennis Chu.
There are times when Aaron Peskin tells me that I say things that are politically incorrect. But I've been retired from the school district since 2017, so I have nothing to lose. First of all, I think the school district needs to look at something very carefully. The closing of schools is a symptom of a larger problem. The larger problem being is the decline in enrollment. So the district needs to look at why is there this decline in enrollment. It's because families have lost confidence in the school district. When there was that situation with COVID-19, a lot of the private schools, secular and not secular, opened up very quickly, much quicker than public schools. During that time, the Board of Education were more concerned about renaming schools like George Washington, because that was a slave, George Washington was a slave owner. They were more concerned about renaming schools than getting schools open. Then you had the political upheaval with school board members being recalled. So a lot of the parents have lost confidence in the school district, in the system. Then they lost confidence because school safety becomes an issue. Okay, because there's a lot of violence, a lot of bullying that's going on in the schools. I think the school district needs to look at something. The schools that they're asking to be closed, okay, Yickwa, Spring Valley, Gene Parker, right? We're talking about schools that are blue ribbon schools, high achieving schools, Title I Academic Achievement Awards, okay? Why are you closing all these schools, especially when they're impacting neighborhood schools? I think the first thing that the school district should look at is, why don't you cut central office? Central office is very heavily staffed. Cut central office before you cut out the school site. In my opinion, I think we need to look at how are we going to regain the confidence of the parents to come back to public schools. By announcing all these school closures, parents are not going to have that confidence. That's why there are a lot of parents, a lot of Asian parents, Chinese especially, they're working 2 jobs now. Some of them working 2, 3 jobs so they can pay their children to go to private schools, secular, non-secular, just to stay out of the public school system. Now, that being said, I hope that the school district and the parents and the communities can work together to come up with a better plan. Because like I kind of said, you don't have to close the schools. There are other alternatives. That's right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and neighbor, Christine Pelosi, who can speak to this also from a statewide perspective.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, families. I'm here as a 15-year public school mom. Our kids were at, our son Octavio was at Clare all the way through, and our daughter was at Sherman, and then Clare. So we know firsthand what happened when it came to even the loss of one teacher or one coach because of the housing crisis or because somebody got sick. I'm talking pre-COVID. Even losing one beloved teacher changes and discombobulates an entire community. I'm thinking of the late beloved Coach Hadley from Claire Lilienthal, who, Positive Coaching Alliance, all that. One person gone changes everything. They say one teacher makes a difference, but losing one educator also makes a difference. That's why we were fighting so hard with public school grandma, Nancy Pelosi, for a raise for our teachers, because we know it's important. We have to have affordable housing. We have to have competitive teacher salaries, so people will simply move. And when you look at the stresses on the system pre-COVID, they were already there. Then during COVID, when we had the shutdown for the entire year, we knew that the communities of color and people with language differences were even further behind when it came to math, when it came to English, when it came to science. The entire year for my daughter's education was just gone. And then it became a competition between who could hire a tutor and who couldn't, even to get them in to high school. So when we look at what San Francisco has already lost, and we look at the parents that we knew who were parents at Clare, who also worked for the district, who still haven't been paid because of that ridiculous system. Let's keep in mind, they spent over $40 million on a failed payroll system, and they want to shut down schools to earn only $22 million. And that doesn't even count the social cost of shutting down a school. It doesn't count the social cost and the discombobulation of merging schools. We know how hard it is to orient our kids, and that's what I tell people. When your kid goes to kindergarten, you're going to kindergarten. When your kid goes to middle school, you're in middle school. And when your kid goes to high school, you're in high school. So that's the way it is. And our public schools have done an amazing job at building community. Our local schools have done an incredible job of parents and educators coming together. And so for this to happen behind closed doors, without explanation, with a very strange grading system that I, with a law degree, can't figure out. I, as an 11-year government lawyer and former deputy city attorney, if I can't figure it out, with all respect, I don't know how you expect people without that level of education to figure it out. It seems as though what we need to do is stop. Save all of our schools. Don't force parents into attacking schools in order to save their own. Everybody has to be united in saying, we're going to save all of our schools. And we're not going to elect people with respect to our wonderful elected officials and candidates here. We're not going to elect people who are going to shut down our schools without our consent. Instead, we need a new school board to come in, and we need to make sure that in January, when the people we're voting for right this minute get elected, that they and us come together to figure this out. The last thing I want to say is simply this. I give this process an F. And the reason it gets a failing grade is because, number one, they haven't figured out, the school district hasn't told us why they're so administrator heavy and why they spent those millions of dollars on a payroll system to pay their own people that they can't figure out. It was so confusing. I went to the private sector and I said, hey, I know some tech people with money. Can you figure this out? They couldn't figure it out either. So it isn't for lack of trying, but that needs to be straightened out, number one. Number two, why would you take a crisis created by adults and take it out on the children?
Yes.
That's not right. And number three, from a civil rights perspective, it's pretty basic. You can't have a shutdown, which affects mostly AAPI community members, takes children from newer facilities and puts them into older facilities. Right? Because what kids are smart. Kids are smart. I'll close with this. My mom has always made this observation. Kids are smart. They know. If you're sending them to a school that's wired for the future, that's got a new paint job, that's got an HVAC system that works, that's got teachers that are being paid decent wages, many of whom are parents or relatives or aunties themselves, then they think education matters because you're investing in them. But if you're sending them to a place that doesn't have those resources, or worse, taking them from a resource school to an under-resourced school, you're telling them that their education doesn't matter and that you don't believe in their future. So if you believe in the future of San Francisco school children, what you need to do is save all of our schools, stop this madness, and in January, when we come together, make sure that the community has a voice. And I think that when we have a voice, we're going to be able to save our schools. Thank you.
She learned at her mother's feet. Somebody who has decades of community placemaking experience and hails from this corner of the city and is a mother, I'd like to bring up next Queen Chen.
Spring Valley alumni.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I would like to say, Principal Chen, good morning. Principal Chu, good morning. They were both my middle school and elementary school principals, so this is really, sorry for being emotional. Hi, my name is Quina. I am a mom of two. SF native. Spring Valley was my home school, and 2 blocks away from here before we were pushed out because we were LSAC and we couldn't afford to live in the neighborhood anymore.
You're doing great.
Spring Valley means a lot to a lot of people, and it's not just about the budget. We used to go eat at the corner. We used to go to the corner store a lot here. So it's not only about the schools and parents, it's also about our small businesses, it's about the whole community. We need to make sure that all our schools stay open. And if you just close out resources like this and send them away and privatize them, we're losing a public good that we won't be able to access anymore. Because once you lose it now, there's no way we have like $2-3 million to buy this building back again or something. So this impacts me a lot, or this is a familiar situation for me, because when I was in high school, I went to Burton High School. And what happened was, during my senior year of high school, we were told that our school was cutting a bunch of teachers because we didn't have money because enrollment was down. Does it sound familiar? I have to, not, I was almost 20 years ago. So just looking back, it's been almost 20 years, and it's the same issues that we face. Budget deficits, under enrollment. Why is that? Why is it that we can't have our schools have the right resources? It makes me super grateful today to see everyone out here, because all the parents, we know that they care. But there's also parents who can't be out here because they cannot afford to be out here. And I'm speaking on behalf of those parents. My mom was one of those parents. She was never able to come to school events because she was working. But one of the few things that I remember, which is really strange, but Spring Valley is also a voting site. So I remember going into the booth with my mom and voting. So it's not only about school being a place where you just go to learn. It's also about how they shape you. What do you become? I'm an active member in Chinatown because of everything that I've learned throughout the years, and Spring Valley was one of the bases for that. So I would just like to ask the school district to please stop this process. 19 days is not enough for public comment for this big of an impact. 2 months to decide if the schools are closing, and you're doing, what is it? I think it was like three public town hall meetings, and 2 of them hasn't been determined yet. That doesn't make sense. Make the math make sense, like the kids say nowadays. But my kid is going to kindergarten next year. I'm scared, very scared, because I don't know what to do. Should I send them to public school, or do I work my ass off and go to private school, right? It's a very difficult situation. I'll try my best. We're leaning towards public school if you want to, but like a lot of people said, it's the parents who have lost faith in the system, and that's why everyone is leaving. So please make your process transparent, and please don't close any of our schools.
Thank you, Tina, from the heart, as always. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I do want to shout out Erwin Lum from this neighborhood, who was the head of the Transit Workers Union, and Mel Lee from the Chinese Six Companies, and just say that collectively, we have a lot of power to push back. Supervisor candidates are here to replace me when I leave office. There's a mayor's race, there's school board races, but fundamentally the power is the power of the community, and I am quite confident that if we work hard over the next couple of months, we can push back on this and find a better way. It was just over a year ago when there was talk about closing Laguna Honda. And we all came together and said that Laguna Honda could not close, and we succeeded in that. When you have a crisis, we bring people together and we find another way, and I'm confident that we can find that other way. I'm also deeply concerned that there are those who think that the fix is in. I'm deeply concerned that when there was a vacancy on the Board of Education recently, that the mayor actually chose to appoint the person who was SFUSD staff who put this realignment plan together. That is not a fair way of going about it. And I do want to say, and I don't say this lightly, that the new superintendent who came in the wake of the recalls has now had over 2 years to get the school district back on track. And at every turn, the school district has not gotten back on track. It has gotten further off track. The fact that teachers are not being paid, the fact that job offers went out to hundreds of teachers and then were rescinded is unconscionable. And this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy unless we all come together and make it stop. And I am confident that we can do that. I want to thank again, Christy Sampson from the ICWO parent perspective, and having someone.
Kevin, do you want to come up with me too? I just want to take a second as I turn this on. Sorry. Okay. We are the ICWO Pandas. We are. And I want to take a second really quick before I just say the couple words that I have. But I was getting emotional because you hear these kids chanting back here saying how much they love their school. Our kids love our school. Every single one of our parents. We have families here that don't even have kids at our school this year that were coming next year or in 2 years to support our school. This is community, and we do not need to fight against each other. I do think there needs to be some changes, but to take ICWO and split it into 2 to 3 different communities, how is that helping our schools? We are a walking school. We have about, and I'm sorry, I don't know the right number, but it's probably 85% of families walk to our school. And our option is to get in a car or a bus. And we have families that work multiple jobs. How are they gonna get their kids to school? You're gonna put a 6-year-old on a bus by himself? No, and I just want to just say that, like, we are an integral part of this city and D3. And recently, like, a community member put out a petition just to support our school. And we're seeing a huge impact in D3 with closing all of these schools. And we need to be together and not pit each other against each other, but figure out a way to make this work where we can keep communities together. And if it is combining Spring Valley with Sherman or wherever combinations it needs to be, but don't break the community apart. And I'm going to give this to Kevin to say some things.
I'm a SWSD parent and a former educator in the district. As I stand in front of Spring Valley, which, by the way, was started by a black man by the name of William Leadsdorf, the first public school in California. As I think about it, San Francisco is one of the richest cities on the planet. We have more billionaires per capita than anywhere else, but yet our public school system is a shambles. Does it have to be that way? This has happened for decades now. I'm going to keep it brief. There are a lot of politicos in the audience right here. Some people might be watching on TV or listening on the radio. I would say this. Keep it simple. Keep communities, families, and more importantly, students, children, and their education front and center. Thank you.
So I want to acknowledge also Nick Ferris from the Telegraph Hill Dwellers, who's a product of local K through 12 education. I think all of the candidates for District 3 Supervisor are here, so thank you for your mutual concern. And then let me just be very clear, which is, as President of the Board of Supervisors, it is my request of the San Francisco Unified School District that they stop this process right now until we have the appropriate level of discussion and community outreach that we are all capable of. I will tell you the number one best resource that this city has is very, very smart, very engaged people. Let's harness that engagement, let's harness that smarts, and let's come up with a better solution. I know we can do it, and meanwhile, this has to be put on hold. This is a non-starter. The way this entire thing has started is not acceptable. The fact that these names were supposed to be released on September 18th and then were continued. The fact today I spoke to Jenny Lamb on the school board. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she shares all of these exact concerns specifically for the API community and the lack of communication and the lack of engagement. It is unacceptable. We need to hire teachers. We need to support our teachers. We need to make sure that this does not turn into a death spiral, but we use it as an opportunity to recover San Francisco's public schools. And with that, thank you all for coming. To members of the press, there are many families here who are happy to tell you their experiences and to answer questions, and all of us will stay around. Thank you for coming.